Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission to order for Monday, June 10th, 2019. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Cooney.
Present.
Commissioner Cunningham. Commissioner Urban.
Here.
Vice Mayor Knott.
Here.
Mayor Hopewell.
Present. May we have a motion to excuse Commissioner Cunningham?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Anderson. Supported by Commissioner Cooney. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We have communications this evening, Manager Ritzman.
None, Your Honor.
Okay. We are now at item C1, acceptance of an easement for sidewalk purposes along Portage Street from the Kalamazoo Creamery Limited Dividend Housing Association Limited Partnership. Anyone wanting to comment on this item, please step forward. You'll have 4 minutes. Give us your name and whether you live within the city. Seeing no one, Commissioners, the requested action is to accept the easement and authorize the city manager to sign all related documents. Is there a motion? Moved by Vice Mayor Knott.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Cooney. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Urban.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knott.
Yes.
Mayor Hopewell.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioners. Motion carried. We are now at item C2. This evening, we're going to be interviewing candidates for the vacant City Commission seat. The commissioners have developed questions. We have 11 of them that have been developed and submitted by commissioners. The process tonight will be that all 5 candidates have been selected randomly in the order that they will go, so that's how they will come in. They're all sequestered right now, and do not have their mobile devices. I'm not sure if this meeting is advertised or not, but I think it might be. So they do not have their mobile devices, and they all agreed to that. I believe that we will have, is it 30 minutes, Mr. Clerk, for each interview? Or
Well, it's
we will have an opening statement. They'll be able to have a 2-minute opening statement, 2-minute closing statement. Answers are requested to be no more than 90 seconds this evening. And this evening we do plan to vote, or at this point, the intention is to vote. We will do that by a written ballot, but all the written ballots will have our names on them and will be submitted for the record. The clerk will put them on the screen so you can see those votes. The reason we do that, so that we're not influenced by some other commissioner's vote, sort of thing. And then the candidate will have the option of being sworn in tonight or at our next meeting. I know sometimes they like to have family present and what have you, so I would encourage them, if that's the case, that they would want to wait till the next meeting. Commissioners, it's my understanding that, at least from Commissioner Urban, that he would like to shorten the list of questions. Knowing that this will be a long night, he would like us to consider that. I'll let him speak on that in a moment. Also, Commissioners, I've had a request that we limit citizens' comments to 2 minutes. To 2 minutes on this issue, because we have a lot of folks to get through. Citizens' comments will be provided after all the interviews are completed, not after each interview. So once interviews are completed, we'll allow for citizens' comments. After citizens' comments, we will go into our discussion of the candidates and go through our voting process. Commissioner Urban.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I was thinking that we could at least see if we could devise a shorter list. I thought that perhaps 6 questions might be sufficient to be able to determine who our most qualified person is. The way I suggest we do that is we just all give to the clerk the numbers of the questions that we prefer in approximate order, and the ones getting the most vote down till we have the 6th question make the cut. If it's a tie for the 6th place, then we'd vote again on that particular tie. So that way we could get through it pretty quickly. I just am positing to you all that I don't know if we need 11 questions to really decide who we want.
So, Commissioner, let me offer an alternative
Sure.
to that process. how about we go through each question one at a time? Because if we all submit, then Scott's got to figure out who submitted what. I can ask everyone, do you want question 1, yes or no? Do you want question 2, yes or no? And if there's a debate on that, then we can just eliminate it. Will that suffice? And then we don't have to do all this back and forth with the clerk or whomever.
That's okay with me. I want to make sure that it's okay with the other commissioners.
Yeah, you brought it up, so I just wanted to make sure. Commissioners, is that a okay process if you want to eliminate? Commissioner Cunningham, good evening. We have 11 questions that have been submitted by you. Commissioner Urban has talked about whether we can decrease questions to shorten the process, getting down to maybe 6 or what have you. The commissioners have asked that, or I recommended that we go through each question, see where we stand on wanting it. If we eliminate it, we eliminate it. If it stays, it stays. Okay. So I'll start with question 1. Anyone want to eliminate question number 1? Okay, I'm hearing no one. Question 2. I'm okay with eliminating question 2. Because I think, you need to, the charter is the charter. So whether you know that or not, it's still the charter, so you can't violate it anyway. Commissioner Cooney, what do you think? I'm just asking.
Not predicted it.
Okay. Commissioner Anders?
Either way.
I said I can take it out.
Commissioner Cunningham?
We can take it out.
Commissioner Urban?
Leave it in.
Okay, take it out, I'm gonna take it out. And you said either way, so you're the swing.
Yes. Take it out.
Okay. Number 3, and I should read, I'm sorry, I should read these, I'm sorry. Number 3, what is the city's overall budget for 2019? What is the general fund budget? The question that was removed was, in light of the city charter, how do you understand the roles and responsibilities of the city commissioner, and how do you intend to interact with the city manager and staff? So we're on number 3. What is the budget, and what's your understanding of the general fund? Okay. Anyone else want it out? I like it in.
I like it out.
You'd like it out?
In.
In? In. It stays. Number 4, what's more important for our city right now? Building new homes or commercial spaces, or rehabbing, expanding, better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts? Anderson says out.
Out.
Cooney's out. Vice Mayor's out. I've heard 4, so number 4 is removed. Number 5, how do you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes in our city?
In.
Commissioner Cooney's in. Urban's in. Cunningham's in. It's in. It stays. Number 6, what strategy should the city follow to alleviate intergenerational poverty? I'm an in.
In.
That stays. Number 7, how would city government better work with Kalamazoo Public Schools? Number 7. Out. 3 outs. 4 outs. It is out. Number 8, what point of view will you bring to the City Commission that will help ensure that our decisions are wise and balanced? In. I'm sort of in. I see 3 ends. 3 of us are like, so far. So the ends have it. Number 9, what was your participation in the IK 2025 process, and what is your understanding of the IK 2025 strategic goals for the city? Do you support the goals, and if so, how will you work to move forward the community's vision?
Out.
Out per Cooney, in per Urban. I'm an in. Got 3 ends. Anderson's in, that's 4, it stays. Number 10, what is the primary purpose of the Kalamazoo Foundation for Excellence? What are some of the ways the FFE supports the purpose as specified in its founding and organizational documents? Urban's out, Anderson's in, Cooney's in, Vice Mayor doesn't care. I'm an N. Okay,
That's in?
it's in. And then 11, the Human Rights Campaign issues an annual municipal equality index that examines how inclusive municipal law, policies, and services are of the LGBTQ people who live and work there. Cities are rated based on non-discrimination laws, the municipality as an employer, municipal services, law enforcement, and the city's leadership public position on equality. In Michigan, 11 cities are ranked, and Kalamazoo's 2018 score is 74 out of 100, which is behind cities like Ann Arbor, other cities, recognizing that you might not be familiar with the scoring criteria and the metrics. What would you propose as a commissioner to do policy-wise and/or administratively to improve Kalamazoo's score before the next report is published in the fall of 2009? I would say in, but it needs to be shortened significantly. So that's what I would say about that one. Urban says out. Cunningham's out unless shortened. Same.
I'm in if it's shortened.
Okay. All right, so it sounds like it stays in. Now that we have our questions, so number 1 stays in. Commissioner Urban has requested to ask that question. Number 3 is about the budget. Commissioner Anderson or Cunningham or Vice Mayor, would any of you like number 3? 3 is the Vice Mayor's. Number 4, what's more important regarding the city's buildings and homes? Did we take that one out? That's up. How do you plan decision-making regarding residents? Commissioner Cooney, that was yours. You had
No,
requested.
it wasn't mine.
Oh, did you request
6
that
was
one?
mine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so 6 you'll have. 5, Commissioner Anderson, I'm going to give that to you. 7's out. 8 will help to ensure that our decision-making is balanced. Number 8, Commissioner Cunningham, I'm going to give that to you. 9.
Out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 8, Commissioner Urban, you wanted that one. I'm sorry.
Well, you already gave me one, so yeah.
I didn't want to. You okay with Commissioner Cunningham? Okay.
I'm okay with it.
All right. Anyone have 2 yet?
No.
No one's had 2 yet. Okay. Commissioner Anderson, why don't you take 9? And then Commissioner Cunningham, you want 10? Okay. And then Vice Mayor, you have 11. Okay. Any questions on process at this point in time? Okay, I'm not sure who's grabbing or bringing in our first candidate. Mr. Clerk, who would our first candidate be?
The first candidate is Megan Buwalda.
Megan, all right, Bawalda. And again, these folks were selected out of a lottery, so that's how they're going. We could have gone alphabetical, but we thought a lottery would be more fair or equitable. And I'm sorry. All 5 candidates are here this evening.
Yeah.
Who's getting them?
Here they come. Here she comes. Want this paper? Right.
I was going to steal it. Yes.
My apologies, it's John McNeil is the first one.
Okay, I was going to say that does not look like Ms. Bawalda. Good evening, Mr. John McNeil. Welcome to tonight's interview process. Let me just give you the groundwork. Well, first, we want to thank you for your interest in serving on the City Commission. It's important service What we do here, we think really moves our communities. We know it does, and so your willingness to serve reflects well upon you, so thank you. Tonight, we have questions by commissioners. They will be rotated through questioning. You'll have a 90 seconds, not minutes, 90 seconds to answer each question. I believe there will be a timer of some kind on the screen in front of you, not using the little screen. You will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, mainly telling us why you want to serve, if you want, or anything in that 2 minutes. And then there's a 2-minute closing. Is that right, Mr. Clerk?
90 seconds.
Okay. Oh, you've been provided all this information, so I guess I can stop talking.
Yes,
Good
you
evening,
can.
sir.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. As you know, my name is John McNeil. I've been a resident here for 47 years. I came to Kalamazoo to go to Western, fell in love with the town. I've been a homeowner for 34 years and more involved in the community and its governments than most people during the last 40 years. Most of you know me. That may be a good thing. That may be a bad thing. I consider myself to be a bridge candidate at this point, someone who can fill for the next few months, having a basic knowledge of the role that a city commissioner plays in the community, familiarity with the processes and the jargon. Someone will have a smaller learning curve than someone who hasn't been following local government for the last few decades. My chosen profession has also given me some insights into what the public expects from its local government. While I currently have no plans to run this fall for a seat of my own, I will not entirely rule it out. A number of things would have to fall into place for that to happen. I am a freshly retired workaholic looking for opportunities to serve my community and to use my working knowledge, my experience, and my skill sets to that end.
Well, thank you very much. We will start with the first question, Commissioner Irvin.
Here we go. In your opinion, what are the biggest issues facing the city of Kalamazoo that the city commission should be working to address? What would you like to see the city of Kalamazoo and the Kalamazoo metropolitan area become in 20 years?
What a question. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's a free form. You can fill it in.
I think the city has a pretty good idea of what problems it faces, poverty, housing problems, issues with roads, funding, solutions, any number of things that the city's already launched major efforts to accomplish and overcome. Some of the things I'd like to improve, if in my own little way, if I could, is using my expertise as a broadcaster and a communicator to improve your public relations a little bit, maybe, working through the city manager's office, of course, and perhaps use some of the things that I've learned watching other governments function and apply them to what's going on in the city as ways of probably solving some problems in ways that maybe you haven't thought of.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 3. I believe it was
It's me.
Vice
Question number 2.
Well, number 2, I'm sorry. Yes, sorry.
What is the city's overall budget for 2019, and what is the general fund budget?
You want the specific numbers? I'm going to be guessing here. It's about 150 million in overall budget, and about 67 million, as I remember, for the general fund. That's just off the top of my head.
Thank you. Next question, Commissioner Anderson.
John, how do you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes in our city?
Well, having been a broadcaster in town for some time, I, live by the internet, and you find out, what the public wants, what the public doesn't want. Of course, you listen. I would imagine that in a great many cases they come to you and find out and express their opinions on what they want and what they don't want. I would use my experience and my ability to communicate with people to, find out what they want on specific issues as they come up.
Thank you. Commissioner Cooney.
John, What strategy should the city follow to end or alleviate intergenerational poverty?
Well, we've already started on that, as we all know. We are pursuing a great many youth programs. We're also using the Foundation for Excellence to provide opportunities in the workplace and skills opportunities for training people on the skills that are needed in the community and the industries that are currently looking for workers who can't find them. How do we improve it further? By making housing opportunities available, by providing programs for people to learn how to function in society in ways that make them able to pay their bills and make budgets and learn to read in many cases. Many of these things are already underway, and we need to step up and continue to enhance and expand them.
Thank you. Next question.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. McNeil, what point of view will you bring to the City Commission that will help ensure that our decisions are wise and balanced?
Well, I'm an old guy, for one thing. You know, I'm old and I'm wise. And I bring a historic perspective on, you know, what's happened here in the city of Kalamazoo. I've been covering this body for 40 years. I started when Fran Hamilton was mayor and have covered every city commission meeting since, read every packet. And, I have a startling and surprisingly wonkish knowledge of what goes on in City Hall. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. Inch deep, mile wide, who knows? But I think that I forgot the question.
What point of view will you bring to the City Commission that will help ensure that our decisions are wise and balanced?
Oh, I thought I answered it pretty good.
Next question.
This is related to the Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 process. What was your participation in the IK 2025 process? What is your understanding of the IK 2025 strategic goals for the city? Do you support these goals? And if so, how will you work to move forward the community's vision?
I covered a lot of the meetings. I was at a number of them. As a participant, I wrote a great many stories about the process and, conveying the process and promoting the public aspects of the public process to the public and telling them the results of those meetings and discussing it as the City Commission approved it. And that was my participation. Beyond that, I wasn't really permitted to go beyond that, you know what I mean? But as I understand it, the planning process is to make Kalamazoo a more livable city and make it more of a city of the future, one that attracts millennials, one that provides services for the public that they want. And the public process was very involved in making that, important, driven by the public. And it also has a, professional jobs creation portion, and it also has a great deal to do with the Foundation for Excellence and driving some of the programs that are involved with that.
And next question.
Thank you, Mayor. What is the primary purpose of the Kalamazoo Foundation for Excellence? What are some of the ways the Foundation for Excellence supports that purpose as specified in its founding and organizational documents?
The purpose of the Foundation for Excellence is to provide a method for the city to finance those things that it hasn't been able to finance because of the way the state funds municipal governments these days. The city's been in a situation where they've had to find alternatives because an income tax was the only other option, and that was not acceptable to certain people who felt as though they had a better option, and they pursued it. And I think I'm a big fan of the Foundation for Excellence. The progressive nature of the program and the way it looks forward is just a model for other governments to follow. I think that the purposes that it serves is, to provide that alternative that is lacking, that we just don't have the ability to draw on because of the way the state has, limited municipal government funding.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Two-parter. As you know, Kalamazoo passed a non-discrimination ordinance in 2009, so wanted to...
It's what?
I'm sorry. As you know, Kalamazoo passed our non-discrimination ordinance in 2009, protecting members of the LGBTQ community. Wondering if you support that ordinance. And as you may not be aware, the Human Rights Campaign issues an annual Municipal Equality Index score, which examines municipal laws, policies, and services for LGBTQ people who live and work here in Kalamazoo. Our score currently is 74 out of 100. What would you do as a commissioner to improve Kalamazoo's score before the next report comes out in 2019, the fall of 2019?
Part one, yes. Part two, what would I do? I would support everything that was proposed. I'm all for equality, and I think that it's overdue. Or I could take up the entire 90 seconds, but I won't.
Does anyone have any follow-up questions regarding the answers that were given on? No? Okay, the next 90 seconds is yours.
Oh, I forgot the closing statement. Well, thanks for the opportunity. It's been an interesting process for me. I've needed something to do since I retired, and I had so much time on my hands. I had to pull a resume together, something I haven't had to do in years and years. I don't think that I'm the favorite candidate in this effort. I think that there are other people who have specific skill sets that may be more attractive than mine, but like I said, I'm a bridge candidate, and I think that it's important, as we've heard from some members of the community, that from a democratic point of view, that everybody have an equal and square opportunity going into this fall's election. And there are some who feel that the City Commission may be handpicking the next commissioner. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's how some people feel. I'm not running this fall. If I'm not running this fall, it's for personal reasons and not for any others. No matter what happens, I will be around in surprising ways.
Well, thank you, sir. Again, we appreciate your willingness to serve and for going through this process. And we'll be letting everybody know. Thank you. All right, our next candidate would be,
Now it's Megan Buwalda.
now it's Megan Buwalda. No. And I want to remind the audience, please no applause, no outbursts during this process. At the end, you can do, after citizens' comments, after we vote, you can do anything you want. If you love what a candidate has to say, feel free to do that. But please, no clapping, no applause, none of that. We want to get through all of this. So, thank you. Good evening, Ms. Buwalda. Welcome. Apparently, you have all received the instructions, so I don't need to give any more instructions. You are on your time to give us a 2-minute statement. I will say we want to thank you for stepping up and being willing to serve in this period of which we have a vacancy. We know we need good people, and we always need people to serve in whatever way they feel that they can. And we appreciate your willingness to be in the spotlight, taking this time, and bringing forward what you can to help support your city. So with that, the 2 minutes are yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commissioners. It's an honor to have the opportunity to stand before you tonight. My name is Megan Bawalda. I'm a proud, lifelong resident of the city of Kalamazoo. I earned both a finance degree and master's degree from Western Michigan University. In 2011, I bought my first home and settled into Edison, Kalamazoo's most diverse and populated neighborhood. As Chief Deputy County Treasurer, my #1 priority is keeping families in their homes. I'm very proud of the work that was done to ensure no owner-occupied tax foreclosures occurred in the city of Kalamazoo this year. As the city works to address issues such as poverty, affordable housing, this commission vacancy is an opportunity for equity, making sure that you have the right voices at the table for these conversations. When appointed, my focus will be on infrastructure, housing, and growing the tax base. Infrastructure is one of the primary charges of a municipal government. Access to clean, safe water is vital, and I'm pleased to see the work being done on lead pipe remediation. Affordable housing is an economic development issue. Citywide, we are 3,500 units short of affordable housing, and this is impacting housing options at every price point. And thirdly, as you are very aware, the city has not yet recovered from the devastating impacts of the 2008 recession, when we lost $300 million in taxable value. As of our most recent equalization report, our value is still 8% lower than before the recession. We're estimating it'll be 2023 before we surpass the pre-recession amount. The candidate you select has 6 months to make an impact. While you're considering some strong options, I believe my background uniquely qualifies me to step in and hit the ground running and learning, and to join you in doing the.
Thank you very much. Commissioners will be rotating questions, and the first question will be asked by Commissioner Urban.
Megan, in your opinion, what are the biggest issues facing the city of Kalamazoo that the city commission should be working to address? What would you like to see the city of Kalamazoo and the Kalamazoo metropolitan area be in 20 years?
I think I hit that just now in my opening remarks. It is infrastructure, housing, and the tax base. My vision for Kalamazoo in 20 years would be a city that is a regional leader in infrastructure. It is a city where there are housing and job opportunities for everyone, whether you're a renter, an owner, a plumber, or a physician. And it's a city that has a strong and diverse tax base, and it's able to better weather the economic ups and downs without having to worry about changes in the services that we provide our citizens.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. What is the city's overall budget for 2019, and what is the general fund budget?
That is a great question. I have up with me my dog-eared and well-read copy of your budget. Your general fund grand total is $181 million. The two largest, that is your total budget. The two largest components of that are your general fund at $65 million, public safety making up about half of that, and your enterprise funds at $70 million, and that covers water, wastewater, et cetera. You're currently in the process of beginning planning for your 2020 budget. My background with government finance and specifically budgeting would make me uniquely qualified again to be able to hit the ground running with you guys and be an asset in that process.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
How do you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes in our city?
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson, for that question. I don't know if you're aware, but I currently serve as a trustee of the Edison Neighborhood Association. So the impact of the voices of the neighborhood is really important to me. The structure that we have in Kalamazoo is one that really empowers the voice of the neighborhood association. I think it's the strongest tie we have to our residents. I think you guys are doing a good job of incorporating that voice, but I think there are definitely opportunities to increase that. And my experience serving on that board would add to your ability to do that effectively.
Thank you. Commissioner Cooney?
Megan, what strategy should the city follow to end or alleviate intergenerational poverty?
I'm not surprised that that question came from you, Don. Thank you. When we talk about complex issues like intergenerational poverty, we know that the solution to that is not a quick one. It takes 20 years of relative stability for families to come out of poverty. So when we're working on strategies, we need plans that are looking over the long term and that are really putting supports in place for people to make sure that they can get to that level. We need safe neighborhoods. We need activities that kids can be involved in so that they can avoid the temptation of falling off track. I'm really grateful to see that we have programs in our community like Goodwill's Life Guides, which makes a long-term commitment to families who want to exit poverty. I think whenever we can partner with similar valued organizations to do the work, we really have the opportunity to go a little bit further than we could have gone on our own.
Thank you. Commissioner Cunningham?
Thank you, Mayor. What point of view will you bring to the City Commission that will help ensure that our decisions are wise and balanced?
Thank you for that question. I think that my experience in government, my experience in the Edison neighborhood, really have given me the ability to work with people coming from very different places, but working towards a common goal, building consensus, and really making sure that you're listening. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen first.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
What was your participation in the Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 process, and what is your understanding of the IK 2025 strategic goals for the city? Do you support these goals? And if so, how will you work to move forward the community's vision?
So my involvement in the LK 2025 strategy has been mostly at the neighborhood level. I got to take the survey as an Edison neighborhood resident and chime in on what of your strategic goals I think would be the highest priority in my neighborhood. I actually have your list right here in my handy binder. I believe wholeheartedly in all of the goals. I think especially when we're talking about getting to where we want to be in 5 years, you've got to start with a safe community. I've already spoken about youth development. We need options for our kids to give them activities that they want to engage in so they don't end up falling off track. And I think making sure that Kalamazoo is a community that's inclusive and welcoming for everyone who wants to be a part of it is a really big thing. You guys have about 10 goals on here, but you got to pick a couple at a time, I think.
Thank you. Commissioner Cunningham?
What is the purpose of the Kalamazoo Foundation for Excellence? What are some of the ways the FFE supports that purpose as specified in its founding and organizational document?
Thank you for your question. The Foundation for Excellence supports the goals of the city. They allow us, as I pointed out earlier, we're still struggling economically. Our tax base is not recovered, and that has impacted the level of service we can provide. The Foundation for Excellence has given us an opportunity to still work on aspirational projects, and I think that that's a huge, huge value for our community. I think that having a vibrant, prosperous, equitable city where we're talking about more jobs and less poverty, we're so blessed to have something like the FFE to partner with.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor, you have the last question.
I do. So this is a two-parter. As you're aware, Kalamazoo passed a human rights ordinance in 2009 protecting members of the LGBTQ community from discrimination. Do you support that ordinance? And you might not be aware, the Human Rights Campaign issues an annual municipal municipal equality index that examines inclusive municipal laws, policies, and services for LGBT people that live and work in cities. Currently, Kalamazoo ranks 74 out of 100. What would you do as a commissioner to improve Kalamazoo's score before the next report is published in the fall of 2019?
I would need to research what goes into that score before I could make a full statement on that, but I wholeheartedly, as I stated previously, believe that this is a community where we need to welcome everyone who wants to be a part of it, and that is a key component of that.
Thank you. Does any commissioner have any follow-up questions regarding the answers that were given? With that, you have 90 seconds for a closing.
Thank you, Mayor. I live, work, and serve in Kalamazoo's core urban neighborhoods. When appointed, my focus will be on infrastructure, housing, and growing the tax base. By focusing on those items, I truly believe that we can make this a more prosperable and equitable city for all. The candidate you select has 6 months to make an impact. While you're considering a lot of very strong candidates, I believe that my background makes me uniquely qualified to step in and hit the ground running and learning and really helping you and doing the work of the people. It's been an honor to stand before you this evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. We appreciate you stepping forward, and it's been an honor for us to have you here tonight and being able to ask you some questions and see how you want to serve. So thank you for being here tonight. We will be letting everyone know. We'll get through this process and make some decisions, most likely tonight, but who knows, these folks may want to do it at the next Monday, but we'll see what happens. Again, thank you for being here tonight. Might as well give me one for each. Well, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
We're glad to have you here. Thanks for your willingness to step forward and serve your city as we try to fill this, look to fill this vacancy on the commission. We know that your time is important, and this role will take a lot of that time. So again, thank you for stepping up. Tonight is your night. We're going to ask questions. They will be rotated between commissioners. You will have opportunity, as you know, for a 2-minute opening, and the floor is now yours.
Thank you so much. First, I want to just say thank you for the consideration. It's an honor to be here and to continue on this journey of serving the city that I live in. So, longtime resident of Edison neighborhood, and very excited to move another step in my journey in a different chapter of my life to serve the city, not just the neighborhood, but the city. And so I think the biggest thing for me is the servant leadership that I do have, that I do bring to the table, the love for people that I care about so much. I truly believe people can change. It's based off of what I can do and what I have to offer to people, the extent I'm willing to go. And just recently in my life, I had to learn how to balance that. I had to give of myself and give to my family. And so my joy is that I get to serve Kalamazoo and make a better Kalamazoo for my kids to grow up in, for my family to grow up in, and my grandchildren to grow up in. When I look back, when my time is done, my hope is that my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and my children would say, my dad made a difference. That's it.
Well, thank you. Commissioner Urban will have your first question.
Okay, ready?
I think so.
Well, in your opinion, what are the biggest issues facing the city of Kalamazoo that the city commission should be working on to address? What would you like to see the city of Kalamazoo and the Kalamazoo metropolitan area become in 20 years?
So there's a handful of issues that are in our city, but one of the biggest issues is the meth epidemic that's taking place, because it stems into other issues with homelessness, violence, and so forth, right? And so, man, that's just a big one that's relevant right now. You got the housing crisis, you have poverty, you have homelessness, and so these are some issues that I think that we have to address now. Regardless of our opinions, there's a truth on the table that these are issues, right? And how we go about those issues have to be in a collective manner. I believe that the key to solution is collaboration. And so if I were to imagine Kalamazoo in 20 years, it would be free from gun violence, free from drugs, the epidemics, that we would at that point found solution for housing and poverty and homelessness.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. What is the city's overall budget for 2019, and what is the general fund budget?
I think the city overall budget is $150 million, if I'm not wrong. The other one I do not know. Give or take a couple million.
Commissioner Anderson?
Hello. How do you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes in the city?
I think that we have to empower the community to sustain community. The efforts that we continue to perpetuate have to change. The only way that the community is ever going to be sustained is when you raise up leaders from the community who have buy-in, who love their community, and want to see something different. So creating platforms and roadways for them to get involved, giving the community responsibility so that they can take the ownership, so that they can start to do the work that needs to take place. And that's a difficult one, that's a challenging one, but I think it could happen. It needs to happen, I should say. And so when we empower people and when we give people the ability to understand that they're valuable and they have power to do something different, the amazing things they can accomplish otherwise, right? And so I think that's what it is empowering people, man. Giving people that hope, giving people that inspiration to go and make a difference, to make a change in their community.
Thank you. Commissioner Cooney?
Mr. Juarez, what strategy should the city follow to end or alleviate intergenerational poverty?
That's a loaded question. But I think that there's different avenues for that. Teaching people what they don't know and they don't know how is very important. I've learned over the span of being part of the Momentum program and starting the Momentum program, seeing people being taught certain things in their life that they haven't been taught otherwise, given their situation, whatever it might be, you fill in the blanks. But when we can start to teach people those fundamentals for sustaining their lives is so important. Now, for me, I was a subject to poverty. Both my parents were crack addicts, right? And we were poor. We ate at the gospel mission. But as somebody walked alongside of me and taught me the importance of family, community, not being so much dependent on things that won't sustain me, right? I had to be taught that kind of stuff because as a child, I wasn't taught that stuff. But now I'm a homeowner. I'm a business owner. I have a beautiful family, right? And so I see myself then teaching my kids that, and not just my kids, the kids in the neighborhood, adults in the neighborhood. And so we got to be willing to lock arms with people and not give up on them. We got to be willing to go the extra mile with people to teach them.
That's your time.
Oh,
It's okay.
dang.
Mr. Clerk, is it on the screen at the podium too?
No, it's not, but I'll glance over every now and then.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. What point of view will you bring to the City Commission that will help ensure that our decisions are wise and balanced?
I have a unique perspective. I'm a very spiritual man, right? I believe really strongly in the Lord Jesus Christ as my Savior, and a lot of the principles that I've learned in the Bible have taught me how to have this perspective, right? And so being able to just keep us honest, right, first and foremost. I've experienced a lot over my lifetime, and experiences that you can't be taught, you know what I mean? Experiences that I have to persevere from and mature in, right? And so I think that perspective of knowing that we have to look at things from different lenses. Sometimes we don't have the full picture. Sometimes it's reality versus perception, right? Until we know for certain the truth of the reality, then we can speak to it. And then we can continue to tackle these issues in a more comprehensive way, right?
Commissioner Anderson.
What was your participation in the Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 process? And what is your understanding of the IK 2025 strategic goals for the city? Do you support these goals? And if so, how will you work to move forward the community's vision?
So with the Imagine Kalamazoo, in the beginning, I went to a couple different meetings. And so that's as far as that extends. But the other, I don't know too much about. So I can't comment on if I agree with the goals until I learn them and study them and know what they are and what they're for. Then I can better answer that question. But right now, I don't know.
Commissioner Cunningham. Oh, sorry.
What is the primary purpose of the Kalamazoo Foundation for Excellence? What are some of the ways the FFE supports that purpose as specified in its founding and organizational documents?
So there's a couple, I think 3 main purposes, if I'm correct. One of them is, I think part of it's I remember them. I'm just drawing a blank. One was for helping the taxes of the city. Is that correct? You guys gonna say if it's correct or not? Yeah. Yes or no? Is it correct?
We're gonna
Oh
let
no!
you get to answer the question.
Give me 10 more seconds. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So taxes was part of it. I know balancing the city's budget was part of it, and I'm not sure if it was the Kalamazoo Promise that was part of it or not. It might have been, but I'm drawing a blank on the third reason. What was the rest of the question? Was that it?
What are some of the ways the FFE supports the purpose as specified in its founding and organizational documents?
Yeah, I think I'm done with that question.
Okay.
Thanks.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, two-parter. As you know, Kalamazoo passed a human rights ordinance in 2009 protecting members of the LGBTQ community from discrimination. Do you support that ordinance? And the Human Right Campaign issues an annual municipal equality index that examines inclusive municipal laws, policies, and services are in place for LGBTQ people who live and work in a city. Our current score is 74 out of 100. What would you propose as a commissioner to do to improve Kalamazoo's score before the next report is published in the fall of 2019?
So I do believe that every human being that lives in the city of Kalamazoo has the right? Those rights. Either you're black, white, Hispanic, LGBT, Q+. Yeah, I agree that everybody has rights, right? We should all have the right to have these resources and things and the civil rights that we need to be in this community, right? I don't know what we could do in 2019, like you said, the score there. I mean, learning more about it, I think, would give me a better understanding on how to move forward and to make adjustments to what's happening even now. So, but yeah, I support it.
Thank you, Mr. Juarez. That ends our questions. Again, you have 90 seconds to close us out.
Okay. I think that Kalamazoo is so diverse, so unique, and so awesome. I'm very proud to call my home Kalamazoo. One of the things I do hope to see is that the representation of this board be the same representation of the community. And my hope is that as you guys consider me, that I could shine light on some of those things in our community and bring a different perspective from a different lens. And so, yeah, that's my hope, that you guys would see that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight and being willing to serve. We know that this role will take time, and you stepping up and willing to do that is certainly reflecting positively on you. And also thank you for all the work that you've done and all the candidates have done in our community. And I do mean our community. So
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Clerk, who's the next candidate?
Next is Patrice Griffin.
I didn't hear you, or they didn't hear you.
Patrice Griffin.
Thank you.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I saw it.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for your willingness to step up and serve. We know that you could be doing anything else other than being here tonight, but you have honored your community by your willingness to step up and serve in this vacancy. We appreciate that very much. I believe you understand the criteria for tonight or have been given instructions. So you know you have a 2-minute opening and the floor is yours.
Okay. My name is Patrice Griffin. I am a mother of 3, 2 in KPS, the wife of a community organizer and activist and an artist who was raised on the east side of Kalamazoo and currently proudly calls the north side of Kalamazoo home. As soon as I found out that my voice and actions mattered and could affect the lives of others, I haven't looked back. As a citizen, I have turned tragedy into triumphs and used personal experiences to drive my passion for making sure everyone who visits and resides in the city of Kalamazoo has a positive experience. I believe in equity, I believe in justice, I believe in action. I believe that we can improve the conditions of this community, such as health, wealth, education, childcare, employment and transportation, as well as our environment. I believe in this community, and I believe that people like myself help make the difference in this city. I have met the same challenges that many of our community residents have faced and face daily. My life and my family's life have been affected by the criminal justice system, and we have been in housing crisis, and we've had to navigate the systems. I have made difficult and very uncomfortable decisions throughout that process that have affected my lives, the lives of my family. I am this community. I speak for those who can't speak for themselves. I speak for those who rarely get heard, and I speak for those who don't even know they have a voice. Thank you, and I look forward to serving this city on a different platform.
Thank you. Commissioner Urban will have your first question.
Hi, Patrice.
Hello.
Well, in your opinion, what are the biggest issues facing the city of Kalamazoo that the city commission should be working on to address? What would you like to see the city of Kalamazoo and the Kalamazoo metropolitan area be in 20 years?
So to answer your first question, I am going to say housing. It is the foundation and the basis of which everyone's lives are able to either thrive or not. And if we get that under control by means of breaking down the barriers that people have to getting into housing, it's not just about building new homes, it's about making sure that people can get into the homes that are already in existence as well as the ones that will be built in the future. Where I see the city in 2020 is thriving, more equitable, more positive experience for all those involved as we move through the plans that have been set in Imagine Kalamazoo 2025.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Yes. What is the city's overall budget for 2019, and what is the general fund budget?
$181 million for the overall budget, and the general fund budget, I believe, is $64 million.
Commissioner Anderson.
How do you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes in our city?
Hopefully, first of all, I can be an example. I am a citizen of this community. I did not come here by way of an employer or through an organization necessarily. As I said in my opening statement, I found out that just exercising your voice, showing up in spaces, having a plan makes a difference. And so I hope that all residents of the community will be able to see me as an example. What happens after this is up to you, but to this point, hopefully they will all see that this is what can happen, and effective change can be made by making your voice heard.
Commissioner Kuhn.
Patrice, what strategies should the city follow to end or alleviate intergenerational poverty?
So I'm going to go with targeted universalism, and if anybody's not familiar with that, the universal idea would be to end poverty, but there's targets you have to hit in that. For example, the poverty, the issues that the Black community may be different than the issues that the Latinx community, the Latina community faces. And so it's important that if you're going to reach this target, that you deal with the populations that are underneath that umbrella so that you can achieve that goal of decreasing or eliminating intergenerational poverty.
Commissioner Cunningham.
What point of view will you bring to the City Commission that will help ensure that our decisions are wise and balanced?
Well, the point of view that I will be bringing is the lived experience. That's that gap that can't be filled by data.
Commissioner Anderson.
A little bit of a longer one here.
Okay.
What was your participation in the Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 process, and what is your understanding of the IK 2025 strategic goals for the city? Do you support these goals? And if so, how will you work to move forward the community's vision?
Well, I was not part of the original process of the Imagine Kalamazoo 2025. I am, and I have been part of the process via Shared Prosperity Kalamazoo. As I am a member of that organizing committee, the work that I do in my life involves creating more equitable society. And so different policies, procedures, practices, things of that nature. And I need you to repeat the last question because I forgot.
It was more specifically about the goals of IK 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like the shared prosperity, good governance, things like that, those 10 goals, or 10 and then 1 for the city with the good governance. Yes, I'm in support of all of those. I am in support of those mostly because of the voices that were heard to create that plan. If it didn't come up from the residents of the city, my answer may be different, but because it was driven by the city, the members of the city and the community, then I'm in support of that.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. What is the primary purpose of the Kalamazoo Foundation for Excellence? What are some of the ways the Foundation for Excellence supports that purpose as specified in its founding and organizational documents?
Well, the purpose of it was to help stabilize the budget in Kalamazoo City by reducing the property taxes. It supports the goals of the city of Kalamazoo, funds the aspirational projects such as Shared Prosperity Kalamazoo, and overall just empowering the city residents.
And the final question is Vice Mayor Knott's question.
Yep, thank you. So as you may be aware, Kalamazoo passed a non-discrimination ordinance in 2009 prohibiting discrimination against the LGBTQ community. The first part is, do you support that ordinance? And then secondly, the Human Rights Campaign issues an annual municipal index score that looks at municipal laws, policies, services, et cetera, for people that live and work in a particular community, LGBTQ people. Our current score is 74 out of 100. What would you propose as a commissioner to do to improve our score before the next report is published in the fall of 2019?
So the first question is yes. The second question is a Human Rights Commission, because even though our score was higher than 2017, where we were about in the 60 range, we got a lot of bonus points for having members of our commission be openly LGBT, but where we didn't get any points was on a Human Rights Commission, and that is something that I would love to see happen. That is something that I advocate for, having a Human Rights Commission in this community, and so yes.
Do we have any follow-up questions for this candidate related to the answers that she gave? Well, thank you. Thank you. You have 90 seconds for a closing.
Well, I will make this short and sweet. I just honestly want to thank you, Mayor Hopewell, Vice Mayor Knott, Commissioner Urban, Commissioner Cunningham, Commissioner Knott, Commissioner Cooney, and Commissioner Anderson for giving this citizen the opportunity to stand before you in hopes of sitting next to you to help lead this city. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you stepping forward, as I said before, and we hope to fill this tonight or at the next meeting. And again, thank you for your willingness to serve our city and all that you do within our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk.
The last candidate is William Wells.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you for your willingness to step up and serve our city. And we've got to fill this vacancy, and it's no easy process, but this is the process that is. And we know that you could be doing anything else tonight, anything else than wanting to serve up here. And you've stepped forward to serve us, these folks, and all the folks outside of this building. We want to thank you. You've been given the instructions for tonight. I believe you know the process. So at the moment, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It is a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to serve our community, and I think that's one of the greatest things that we can do as a resident, as any person that lives in a free country like we do. And I have spent a considerable amount of years serving our community in a lot of different ways. And I am really grateful for just the opportunity to see the changes of lives that have been affected by some of the things that we've done. And I look forward to the future because I think we're going to do greater things. So for me, it's just a privilege and a joy to do that.
Thank you. Your first question will be provided by Commissioner Urban. Commissioner.
Hi, Bill. Well, in your opinion, what are the biggest issues facing the city of Kalamazoo that the city commission should be working on to address? What would you like to see the city of Kalamazoo and the Kalamazoo metropolitan area be like in 20 years?
Well, I think it follows along with one of my passions, and it's to provide affordable, quality housing for those who really need it. And we have been in a position where before we weren't able to do that, and now we can do that, and we can do that with a lot of gusto. And I like being a part of seeing people's lives changed and being affected by having that done.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Sure. Hi. What is the city's overall budget for 2019, and what is the general fund budget?
You know what? I really don't know.
Commissioner Anderson?
Bill, how do you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes in our city?
I think one of the things, and that's part of been my experience with being on the Edison Neighborhood Board, being able to reach out to people as they come in and experience their daily lives, to be able to come alongside of them and really experience what they're experiencing, and then help them go forward and go up in their experience, so that they have that level of enjoyment that we all experience.
Commissioner Cooney?
Bill, what strategy should the city follow to end or at least alleviate intergenerational poverty?
That's a big question. I think we're doing some things, and we're doing them right. We're on a road of going forward, and we're seeing some of those things change. I think that we need to continually focus on what is it that causes the poverty, whatever causes the hunger, any of those things, and to step up and try to correct those issues before we even go forward. Those are very fundamental, very basic issues, but they're very important.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Thank you, Mayor. What point of view will you bring to the City Commission that will help ensure that our decisions are wise and balanced?
I spend a lot of time listening, and I think that's probably one of my character traits is I gather all the information before I even formulate a decision or even a comment. I think it's important to know and to see how things are working and formulating. And I think that's when I can best give my own spin on whatever situation that is.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
What was your participation in the Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 process, and what is your understanding of the IK 2025 strategic goals for the city? Do you support those goals? And if so, how will you work to move forward the community's vision?
Well, to answer the second question first, yes, I support them wholeheartedly. The first question is I went to just about every Imagine Kalamazoo meeting that we had, and I felt that I learned a considerable amount. I think the information that we gained from all of those workshops also helped develop the surveys and the responses that we got back from the residents were powerful. And I think we've gone further with this kind of activity than we've ever gone before.
Commissioner Cunningham?
What is the primary purpose of the Kalamazoo Foundation for Excellence? What are some of the ways the FFE supports that purpose as specified in its founding and organizational documents?
Well, I believe that it gives us a whole lot more flexibility than what we've had previously. I think that the impact is going to be so much greater. We don't even know what that's going to be right now, but we do know that we've had a privilege and an opportunity to be able to utilize funds that we never have had before.
And Vice Mayor.
Two-parter for you. As you're aware, Kalamazoo passed a non-discrimination ordinance protecting members of the LGBT community from discrimination in 2009. Wanting to know if you support that ordinance. And then you might not be aware, but the Human Rights Campaign issues an annual Municipal Equality Index, which examines municipal laws, policies, and services provided to the LGBTQ community who live and work in a city. Our current score is 74 out of 100. What would you propose as a commissioner to do to improve Kalamazoo's score before the next report is published in the fall of 2019?
I believe that everybody is valuable and that they have worth. And regardless of whatever it is that they think or feel, that we should support them 100%. And I have never thought anything less than I do now as far as that issue alone. But I've always treated people equally and fairly, and I try to do that with the best of my ability.
Sir, that was your final question. The floor is now yours for a 90-second closing.
I have had the privilege of serving the city of specifically with CDAC, and to see how it has changed and based on so many different factors. And you always have that thought in the back of your mind, could we do more? And for me, could we do more with being able to be seated at this and to do the work that'll take it further.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. I forgot to ask if you had any follow-ups regarding any of his answers. Okay. Again, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for your willingness to serve and for all the work that you're doing and have done within our city.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate you. I'm now going to open it up for comments from the audience. Please give us your name and whether you live within the city, and you will have 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Nehemiah Scudder, and you all know me, including the mayor and everybody else up there in the city commission. I would like to quote from a book called Pilgrimage by Zena Henderson, where a person that serves as the character under question was asked, "Where do you come from?" And the answer was, "From hunger and hiding, peril and panic places, to live midway between madness and the dream." That's where I come from. And I believe that some of these subsidiary issues of finances, housing, treatment of the LGBTQ community and so on are less important than having a good judgment for character. When Martin Luther King addressed millions of us in Washington, D.C. in his I Have a Dream speech, he said, "I want my 4 little children to not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." And I think that's true of everybody, whether they're black, white, yellow, red, or any other color, brown. It doesn't matter. The character is what counts, not the skin color, not the sexual practices, and not any other things except character. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to say, from the yells of the majority.
Oh, we need your name and whether you live within the city.
Yeah, my name is Ed Genesis. I definitely live in the city. I represent the north side. And from the yells of the majority to the whispers of the least, to the biggest of the talkers, to the smallest of the listeners, I want to say, Commissioner Patrice.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to address the commission? on the candidates this evening? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Penning. I do live within the city limits on the south side. I have worked with Estevan in ministry and led with him for about a decade now. I have seen him grow from somebody who is building his own character, building into his family, and then his vision widened, and he started to really take on a passion for the Edison neighborhood, to lead in there, to build relationship with the people, and now I see him setting his eyes and broadening his vision to the city. He loves this city more than anybody that I know. He's an incredibly hard worker. He's not terribly good with details, okay, just so you know that. I've worked with him for a long time. But his heart is enormous, and he will provide the connection to the community that I feel like higher government bodies need. He will be that anchor to the people that will keep you grounded into what's going on in the places that you might not see. And I think that adds a lot of value to your commission.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Elisa Parker. I live in the city of Kalamazoo on the north side. I just am rising to stand in support of Patrice Griffin, hoping that the commission will select her. I've had the privilege of working with Patrice on boards in the city and on just other projects. I've watched her tremendous growth. I think she will be an asset for the commission and a voice for the people. So I hope that you will extend your vote to Patrice Griffin. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Maddie Jordan Woods.
Don't hold it.
My name is Maddie Jordan Woods, and I live in the city. And I actually have had the opportunity to meet all of the candidates that have been before you. I know you all will have a hard time making that decision. I hope that you will look and review your questions that you asked and how close they came to answering those questions and what ideas that they had that they could bring to the table. I'm very biased. Everyone knows that when it comes to the north side, I really am. And so it isn't just that, though. I think that Patrice Griffin, she answered the questions. She knew about the budget. She knew about human rights. And she was very well detailed on the issues that is affecting us that has to do with housing and poverty. And then I'm just amazed at the other candidates that they knew as well. So you all are going to have a very hard time picking. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Edward Griffin Jr. Being a 22-year-old man that's lived in poverty
And sir, do you live in the city?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The basis that Patrice touched, it's like being a product of your environment. And for the people who are scared and don't know how to voice their opinion, to have other people go and voice their opinion and their sides, she touched all bases. Like, it was like she was speaking through me. So I say vote Patrice.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Mary Garcia, and I do reside in Kalamazoo. And I'm here asking, well, I want to commend the board, and I know you guys have a huge decision tonight, but I do want to remind the board that it's been about 13 years that we haven't had a Latino voice in the community. I also want to remind the board that Esteban Juarez has been, he not only talks about what needs to be done in the community, he wakes up every morning. He comes home late at night. He is hands-on and feet on the community. He has partnered with other organizations to make the lives of the citizens, especially in the Edison neighborhood. He has made partners with other organizations that has actually impacted the many, many, many lives in our community. He is very knowledgeable of what addiction is, what addictive personalities are, what poverty is, what homelessness looks like. Everything that was mentioned here, he himself has felt personal, and he himself is showing others what it is to rise above that. Again, he is our voice for the Latino community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Ryder Griffin. Yes, I am a resident in Kalamazoo. I say Patrice touched on a lot of things, and she didn't say it like because she's looking from the outside in. It's like from the inside out. Like she went through plenty of things, so she knows how to handle it. Like I wouldn't say better, but like, well, yeah, better. But she knows how to do different things, and she knows how to like cope with people. So like people that can't talk, she can talk with them, get the basis out of what they're trying to say, speak out for them, and just speak out for the whole community. And I say this to say, vote Patrice.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Juarez, and I and my family reside in the Edison neighborhood. I'm coming and feeling compelled to speak to you all on behalf of Esteban Juarez. In my experience with interviewing and hiring well over 200 candidates, I can see that you have 3 very qualified candidates to choose from. People who've done their homework, who are passionate and hungry to make significant change in their community. I can tell you from a very honest perspective with Steven, he's grown a great deal in the 16 years that I've known him. Particularly his humility is what strikes me. And it's humility balanced, very tempered with confidence. He does not deny where he came from and the struggles he's endured, but he does not hide behind them as crutches or excuses. He takes a great deal of personal responsibility, and he takes a great deal of responsibility for his community. Everyone is his family. And it's not without irony that I wear this shirt that his family created. And it speaks of Jesus. I will tell you, I am a recovering Catholic, and when people would speak of Jesus for a long time, it left a very metallic taste in my mouth. So, sorry, brother, but I have to confess, Jesus was a super cool guy, and he always rooted for the downtrodden, the forgotten, and that's what my brother does. And if anybody could bring the purity of that message without the hypocrisy of the church, that is the guy.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Ledesma. I do not reside in Kalamazoo, but I am here to speak on behalf of Esteban Juarez, specifically the assets that he brings. And so me and Esteban have similar backgrounds. I am an extension of his family. Both of us have called Kalamazoo home at different times. I resided on the north side, east side, and south side during my adolescent and teen years. Often in our youth, we belong to communities often invisible or overlooked by those who are making decisions and policies that ultimately affected us. As a result, we both find ourselves in the social impact field, not because we wanted to be leaders, but out of a calling of love. We both truly love the communities we serve and want to help bring our communities toward action, knowledge, and power. And that is what drives us to step up and take leadership when it's our time. Outside of the invaluable assets of his lived experience, the assets of this candidate, I believe you can train anyone in the process and procedures, but what not many have is proximity. Proximity is the greatest asset anyone can bring to a city commission. He and his family reside, participate, and contribute in the heart of a neighborhood. His representation and proximity to underrepresented communities, specifically the Latino community that is the fastest growing. I could be wrong, but not sure if this voice is currently at the table co-creating strategy with you. When it comes to true and great engagement, proximity matters. And so I don't know where the Census 2020 falls on your strategy, but proximity will matter specifically in the immigrant communities where trust must be reestablished. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Alejandro Rodriguez, and I am a resident of Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I just wanted to thank you guys for allowing the community to come and speak here for a few seconds. And I want to touch base about relationships and the importance of that. Esteban Juarez and I used to be, we used to have a lot of hate for each other. But it wasn't until he was intentional of trying to change that. And with a platform or without a platform, that happened. And it allowed us to grow in such a way where now we both are willing to take, a bullet for each other. I lived with him for a few months. I was homeless. I think like 8 or 9 months. I still owe rent, but we're not going to talk about that today. But what I do want to mention is that he poured into me what he learned in the time of 10, 15 years. He poured into me in a matter of a year to 2 years, and I now work in the community every day, and I'm pouring what he taught me and what other leaders taught me, and some of the leaders that I'm talking about are sitting in these seats in front of me, back to the community. So I just want to let you guys know that being intentional and not necessarily focusing on where this individual is, but where his heart is at. Someone's heart speaks louder than the words in the room, and his heart is bigger than his body. And I just want to thank you guys for allowing him to even be a person who has an opportunity to come in and share a little bit about what he's doing and what he has been doing in the community. And whether he is given the opportunity or not to sit with you guys, next to you guys, and work with you guys, I can speak for us and Healing of the Hood, and what we're doing in Kalamazoo is that we're going to continue to do it regardless, whether we have the support or we don't have the support. We know what we believe in, and he who's doing the work in us is going to continue to do that work to the day of completion. Thank you guys, and God bless every single one of you guys.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. So my name is Belen, and I live in the east side of Kalamazoo, and I'm here to talk about Esteban. Esteban's a great guy because he focused a lot on the youth of the community, because now in the youth of our community, there's many kids who are out here doing so many things they shouldn't be doing. Like, they're doing drugs, they're selling things that they shouldn't be selling, they're watching things that they shouldn't be watching. But Pastor Esteban is the type of person to reach out for those people. He's not the type to judge them and be like, why are you doing this? No, he reaches out his hand and he tells them, there is hope for you. And he tries his best to help out the youth community. And we actually been working with Pastor Esteban for a whole year now. And he's actually been helping us out a lot. And he motivates us to talk to other teenagers. And he inspires us to be a better image for them. And he just does a lot to help us out and to help the teenagers and the children. And it's really nice to have him. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Karina, and I am here to also talk about Esteban Juarez.
Ma'am, do you live in the city?
Pardon?
Do you live in the city?
Yes, I am a resident. I just want to say that we've been working for him for a year now, and I personally seen all the love he has to give to this community, and I've seen how much he values it and how much all the devotion he has for it, and I think that he will make a really good resident, and I'm really grateful because you guys have taken him into consideration, and he's always there motivating us and leading us to create a better image and a better future. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Sean O'Brien. I'm a longtime resident here at the city of Kalamazoo. I was born and raised in Burke Acres, which is the Mount Olivet area, and I now am a current resident as of 2013 of the Edison neighborhood, which is and has always been the most diverse neighborhood in the city of Kalamazoo as far as ethnicity, socioeconomic status, everything. That is the melting pot. What I'd like to say is you guys will have a challenging time choosing someone. However, as the world changes, we need to make sure our city represents that for the future. When you're talking 20 years out, we need to make sure that our city in all areas is a representation of that. I understand that Patrice is now a resident of Northside. She and her husband was a resident of the East Side. The East Side is also a diverse area. Living in two different neighborhoods in this city, different communities, that is a wonderful experience to have in representing and attacking those needs of the people. So I'm here in support of Patrice. Hopefully, in the years to come, 20 and out, that this city of Kalamazoo will continue to be diverse in its citizens and the representation of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Ariel Juarez, and I am a resident of Kalamazoo. I am married to Esteban Juarez, so I have the privilege of getting to know all sides of him behind closed doors, outside of the doors, and just we've been married now for going on 8 years, and I have known Esteban for about 15 years. So I just want to speak about just the passion that this man has. So we now live in the Edison neighborhood. He's pretty much always lived in the Edison neighborhood. I grew up in Comstock. So when we were looking for, building our family, looking for a home, and he said, well, we have to move to the Edison. And I said, are you sure we have to move there? I've never had good experience there. And he brought me there, and he's shown me the beauty that's in that community. And it might not look beautiful to everybody else, by anybody else's standards, but he has gotten to know the people there and poured out his heart and his love and his hands to these people. So one of the biggest things that we've talked about tonight was housing, and I just want to share a little bit. So where we live at, everybody knows that our home is open to whoever needs to come, and we are always having somebody stay with us. It is a huge deal to us to make sure that people are housed and loved. We've also helped with the homeless people that were living at Bronson Park and helping them and love.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jorge Rodriguez, and I am a resident of Kalamazoo, Michigan. I speak on Esto. Me and my brother were homeless, and we moved into his house. It was like late night. It was like 3 in the morning, and we called. The only person that we called was him, and I didn't know him at first. My brother did, and so I didn't know where we were going. But we ended up going to his house. After staying at his house for a while, I noticed that he helped me in a lot of ways. He helped me how to build a family. He helped me stay on my feet. So now I'm engaged to Jackie, and we have a beautiful family. Esto is one of those who just opens the door for anybody. And at that moment, he he just really changed my life. I'm now 21 years old. I'm happy with my family. I'm now engaged, and I'm still with him, to this day. But, he's someone that really impacts your life. He works with you, hands-on. every day. He does not give up on you. He still checks on me, and he does still take care of my family. And if I don't got it, I know I can always come to him for help. He helped me in so much ways financially. He helped me make sure that my family is safe, make sure that I have everything that I need. And being up here and speaking for him is probably one of the best opportunities that I can have. And he just helped my brother and I so much. And seeing my brother working with him, he changed a lot too. I mean, he was not always a really good brother. He was always out in the streets doing his business, and now that I'm capable of seeing him, and I'm glad that he's still alive. So I know it's going to be very hard to choose, but I hope that Esther would be one of the candidates that would be on your mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Hello. I'm Jonathan Steele. I live in the Edison neighborhood. I'm here for Esto. He was here for me when I came down here and moved here 10 years ago. I joined his church that he was leading on the south side in the Edison neighborhood, and he showed me a lot of things. He showed me compassion, a lot of compassion. He showed me it's cool to help people. It's all right to help people. He also helped. He helped me get into this program and find out programs about getting homes. He helped me find out and what I had to do and connected me to the people he had to connect me to get in programs. And now I'm going to be buying my home. I did a little work on his home. He worked on his home and my home. He gives away food in the community, like every Friday. They go do food runs, get food out in the community, make sure people who don't have get food and stuff. I know, like I said, like people said, it's going to be a hard job. I hope y'all find it in y'all heart. Esto Suarez is the man for y'all. He's a connector. He's a good person, well-hearted. He's been there for me and my wife, and I'm trying to be there for him. He's a good person, a great heart. He's the person for the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Pat Vingy. I do live in the city of Kalamazoo, and I'm here to talk about the little bit really that I know about Patrice. I met her probably about a year ago with the Isaac Housing Task Force. And when she came to talk to us, one of the first questions is, what makes you passionate about what you do? And her passion for helping people, for finding ways around the barriers that people of poverty are confronted with in affordable housing. She talked to us about eviction issues. She talked to us about criminal history issues. She talked to us about fees that are associated with rental properties. Patrice also has the ability to see things from a lot of different angles. She also has worked as in the rental agency area, so she sees it from the perspective of the landlord as well as the perspective of the tenant. I think her comment about that one of the major things she brings is her lived experience, and that was so evident when she talked to you tonight. I've also been really impressed with the work that she's done with the Fair Housing Commission. There was a program at Fetzer, and she was intimately involved in getting that program put together. She now is a member, I believe, of the Housing Task Force, the Isaac Housing Task Force, and every meeting she brings different ways of looking at things, different lenses to see an issue through, and I think she would just be an incredible positive addition to our City Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Face, and I reside in Kalamazoo. I'm here representing Patrice Griffin. I've known her for over 20 years. I've had the pleasure of working side by side with her on different agendas. I truly believe that she will be an asset to this community, to this city, because it's not just about race. It's about different agendas, different things that are going on in the community, and I believe that she will stomp the grounds to make sure things get done. I've watched her progress so much throughout the time and the years and just different things, and if she sets her mind to do it, it's done. So I know you have a hard decision to make, and I've been sitting back and I've been listening, but I really think you ought to consider her. She'll definitely be an asset. Thank you.
Thank you. You can sign in after, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Antonia Kennedy. I live in Eastwood neighborhood. That's not the city of Kalamazoo, but I'm close. You know, when I came here, I came with the idea of listening and listening to the questions that you posed to candidates and to see who was the best fit, not just somebody that represented me, but who was really out in the community. Because let's face the facts, we got plenty of people that sit behind a desk that make all kinds of decisions, but they're not really out there in the community. Then I struggled because for me, we're down to 2. I don't really even know how you're going to do it. Truthfully, it would be really fair to be down to 2 because just like Patrice said, I am the community, okay? I am that community. And I want somebody on the city commission that's going to represent the neighborhood, that's really going to get out there, do the work, do the time, that's always out there, that really understands the concerns. I understand about housing being an issue, but drugs is also an issue. And when I sat and I listened and I just listened to everybody and what they had to say, I really believe that the candidate for you is Esteban Juarez. I really believe that he's been out there. I really believe that he engages with people, and that's what you need. You need to bring people's opinions and voices and stories so that you can make an effective decision. Patrice is amazing, honest to God, but I also think that the Hispanic community is another voice. It's not about race. It's about just bringing people, everybody, being all-inclusive into the community. And I'm hoping that you'll do your best to make a really good decision that represents everybody because you have.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello, I'm Adon Juarez, and I'm not a resident of Kalamazoo, but I was born and raised here with my brother Esteban Juarez. And I can say that he's an amazing man, a good role model, a good brother. The things that I've seen him do in his journey made me make some wise choices in my life. So with that, I hope you guys choose him, and because he's got a lot of special gifts that God granted him with that he didn't know he had, and now he's showing them. And every day he impresses me and my brothers with the things that he does. So with that, Esteban Juarez.
Thank you. Good evening.
Jeff Messer, city resident. It is the duty of the city commission to fill this vacancy for the next 4.5 months, not to bias the outcome of the November city commission election. The person you appoint will have an unfair advantage if they choose to run this fall. The commission's last 2 appointees, Robert Sanabro and Eric Cunningham, were able to convert their appointments into elected positions. When Mary Balkema stepped down from the city commission late in her term, David Juarez was appointed to fill the vacancy with the understanding that he not run that fall. I want the commission to take a similar action tonight. Only one candidate tonight stated his intentions for this fall. John McNeil said he does not plan to run. Patrice Griffin has announced on Facebook that she plans to run this fall. The other 3 candidates have not explicitly stated their intentions. I ask that you please vote for John McNeil. His extensive local knowledge means he can fulfill the duties without a learning curve. He is the only retired candidate, which means he can dedicate all of his time to his duties and not be absent from meetings. The commission won't consider the budget until after the election, so we don't need additional financial expertise now. John knows better than any of the other candidates about citizens' lack of interest in community issues and local government. It is rare that a former journalist runs for public office. I ask that you please not heavily influence the outcome of this November City Commission election and vote for John McNeil. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to address the commission? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Toby Hannah Davies, and I do live in the city. I think that probably most of you know that I was on Ann Arbor City Council for 8 years in the 90s. And so I appreciate the difficulty of your decision here tonight because you've got more than one really strong candidate. But speaking just for myself, I want you to know that I am so impressed with Patrice Griffin that I think she is your best choice without a doubt. She has been so amazing as a person that has spoken to the Isaac Housing Task Force, which I co-chair. Because she's had so many of the experiences that the people in our community have had, who are having all the time, that are impediments to housing. All of the kinds of reasons that building 3,500 more units in this community would not solve the housing problem. Patrice understands the reasons that people can still not get housing because of incarceration, because of substance abuse history, because of past evictions, because of cost of applications, because we need a fair housing ordinance amendment, because we need fair chance laws like many other cities in Michigan have. She is so good at analysis and so articulate, eloquent at what we could do, and she's your best bet. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to address the commission? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Jacqueline Garcia. I live in Kalamazoo also. I'm for Esto. I'm his sister-in-law. Esto's had a very good and ups and downs in his lifetime, but I can say they're truly beautiful. He's not only done so much for me and my kids, but he's done so much for other kids, and not only just the younger kids. We're talking about adults, getting them off their feet, getting jobs. People with bad backgrounds who can't get jobs because people don't want to reach out and know that they're willing to change for their lives. You want someone who's going to do the book work. He will. I can guarantee you that. But also, we want someone who's going to be out there in the field, hands-on with the people too. And I guarantee with all the stories that we heard so far, he's going to do that. So I'm for Esto.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Good afternoon and good evening. My name is Stephanie Moore. I do reside in the city of Kalamazoo. I want to congratulate all the candidates that came forward. This is a huge step. It takes a lot of courage, but most importantly, to show that you love people and all people and willing to serve in the city of Kalamazoo is definitely something to be commended. I think everyone that came forward has value and worth and could really bring their expertise to the city commission to help push Kalamazoo forward. I want to say that as we talk about everyone's extensive work and background in the community, which I think is absolutely important, is critical in doing this work. And I know sitting in that seat with you all before in the past, that one of my greatest struggles was trying to decide if I was going to be a community organizer or a policymaker. If I was going to really focus on what the city commission is dedicated to, which is appointing, which is, that budget and making sure that policy is in place that's equitable and fair and that is transparent for everybody in the community. And I think that's the tiebreaker here when you have to make this decision. Who can be in the field, who can, corral the masses and create the energy and the synergy, but come in here and sit at that dais and do policy work, understand the budget, understand the implications of the budget and how it impacts the people that we want to serve. So having that board experience, that multilingual voice, if you will, is extremely critical in my opinion. And that's why I want to support Patrice Griffin. I think that she has that experience. She has that ties to the boardroom. She's been doing this work. She understands it. And when I say her name, I don't mean to take away from anybody else, but I do want to say race does matter. This is about race and representation, because the questions that you ask about the disparities, when you look back on it, it all comes from race. So it's important that we have the diversity and inclusion here on this.
Thank you. Next, please. Good evening.
Hello, I'm Scott Goodwin. I do not live in Kalamazoo. I work in Kalamazoo. I've had the blessing to work with Esteban for about a year. But like many of you, I knew his name long before, and I knew his work long before. In fact, the first time we met, he won't remember this, but he introduced himself as Esteban. And I said, okay. And they said, people call me Esto, and that changed my perception right away. The things that he doesn't know about city government, he can learn. But the things that he brings, you cannot teach. So when you talk about character, when you talk about experience, when you talk about commitment to the community, it drips off of him. Everywhere he goes, people know him. If you would have asked me the question, what does the community need? We got great answers from all the candidates, but as great as Kalamazoo is, it's divided. And you need unity, and he is a uniter. And so I hope that Esteban will get your vote. He can bring a community together. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to address the commission this evening? Good evening.
Good evening. Stacy Ledbetter, not a resident of Kalamazoo, but a retired city worker and still active in the community, very active in the Kalamazoo community. So just wanted to greet you and address you as a witness to the work. I just want to commend everyone who stepped forward to even fill this position. Obviously, it's very important, and I hope after you make your decision, there will be something for all of them to do. But I'm here as a witness right now for Patrice Griffin in a qualitative way as opposed to quantitative. I haven't known her very long, a couple years, but I've known her as a worker. The things that you've heard in terms of her housing commitment, doing work with the Kalamazoo Community Foundation, Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation, on various boards and committees with you all. And I believe all of you sitting here, I know personally, and in one way or another have been in a meeting or have done the work or in some type of committee. So I know I'm a worker, as I know you are too. So from one to another, I'm just speaking to you again as a witness from somebody that who has seen Patrice do the work, and she would be committed in terms of intelligence, in terms of commitment, in terms of, like she said, the lived experience. You really can't get past that, not taking anything away from anyone else, but I hope you really take that to heart. And aside from the decision that you make, find something for the others to do just as well, because they have spoke up and want to be involved also. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to address the commission this evening on this side? Seeing no one. Mr. Clerk, you have ballots for us?
Yes, I do.
So again, for the audience, we have ballots for each that have all the names of those that have stepped forward to serve in the vacancy. Each commissioner will have the opportunity to select, if I'm not mistaken, one is what we decided, one person to serve in that vacancy. The clerk will post the ballots on the screen, and we do our work by the majority. The majority of this body is 4, even when we only have 6 people sitting here. Well, it would still be a majority. 4 would be even of 6, so yeah. It's always got to be 4, is what I'm trying to say, no matter what. So if we have 4 people, it's 4. If it's 5 people, it's 4. It's whatever. So, sorry. So that's the way we'll work tonight, and we're going to go about our balloting. Commissioners? Oh, you guys have been voting while I was talking again. Again, we appreciate all the candidates that have stepped forward to serve. It is not an easy decision. There were a lot of great individuals that stepped forward and come from so many different backgrounds. And I know my colleagues, it's not easy, and we didn't know what we'd hear tonight from every individual. But I remind everyone, this is an interview, and you have to bring what you bring. And these folks know what they want to hear, or what they need to hear, and what moves them. And so that's how we go about our decision-making process. So, thank you all for being here. Thank you for voicing your support for whomever. Your voice is very important in the process. Confirmed, Mr. Clerk?
Confirmed. 5 votes for Patrice Griffin, 1 vote for John McNeil.
Per our rules, the majority is Patrice Griffin. Ms. Griffin, would you come forward, please? We want to congratulate you on the votes you received this evening. You have the option of being sworn in this evening. You would serve after this meeting concludes, because we have business that you wouldn't really know about, which is really no business at all, actually. So now that I say that, because we're done. Or you can have the option of being sworn in at the next city commission meeting and have family and friends, if you would like. It's up to you.
One of my favorite people are here who has not been in this city in over 20 years, my mother-in-law. So if I could be sworn in today, I will do that.
You certainly may. Mr. Clerk, will you do the honors?
Stand just on that edge, and I'll stand here, and that way we can both get the microphone. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of City Commissioner according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Don't go anywhere. Commissioner? Well, Commissioner, being able to call you that, being the first person to get to call you that. We also have a tradition that when you are elected or appointed to this body, that someone you love has the honor of pinning our city seal on you this evening. I have a seal for you to have pinned, and I don't know who you would like to do that, but.
Okay, yes. Yes. The kids will never forgive me.
Commissioner, the clerk will be working with you. He'll probably want to talk to you after this meeting to help get you oriented and get you information and that, all of that work that needs to happen. I think you need to sign your oath of office, and there'll be HR stuff and things of that nature. We welcome you to the Kalamazoo City Commission.
Thank you.
Are there any other citizens' comments this evening? Seeing none, any commissioner comments? Commissioner Anderson?
I just want to say this, is that it was a very impressive group of people who stepped up and volunteered for this opportunity. And I'm not just including the people who we selected to interview tonight. That was also not an easy decision. When we looked at the entire group of people that stepped up, it was not easy to limit that group to just the folks who spoke tonight. And I want this, obviously, one person was going to get chosen in the end, and multiple people suggested how difficult that decision is, and it was. One thing that gives me great comfort, however, is that you can look across the city and you can see a great number of people who are capable and work hard and care about the city deeply. And just the fact that that is the case in the Kalamazoo area, that no matter what's going on, there are leaders all across this community that are keeping to doing the good work. And the thing that will make us all the more powerful is that we see each other as partners in this work, not people that we are competing with, but people that we're working together in this great effort. And I hope that there is no discouragement to all who put their names forward. We obviously have an election coming up here in November, which will be another chance to put your names in front of folks, but it is a fantastic situation to be in, to see so many great folks doing so much great work and wanting to continue to do that work in a more public way. So I thank everyone who participated.
Commissioner Urban? Commissioner Cunningham?
I want to echo my colleagues' sentiments in regards to the pressure that these opportunities present to someone. I mean, it's not easy to get up and interview with 6 people or 5 individuals shooting questions at you. It's not easy to get up and interview when you have, a camera on you, or you have individuals who you aren't familiar with or understand who may be sitting behind you. When I went through this process in 2015, I lost 10 pounds in a week just from the stress alone. One of my cousins had passed away, and actually, let me rephrase, my godbrother passed away in between that 2-week period of the opportunity. And so, I want to say to each one of you who did apply, whether you got an interview or not, stay engaged. I think there are so many different variables and facets that has to come into play when we talk about the role of a city elected official. One of the things that I appreciate Commissioner Williams, formerly Moore, for her comment in regards to, it is really it's 2 things you really have to take in consideration. How do you get engaged? How do you get the community engaged? And then you also have to take in consideration the fact that you're writing policy, and you're writing policy not just for one specific segment, but for the entire community. But you also have to have a lens, a certain lens. And so when policy comes across your desk, are you able to take that information and break it down or synthesize that information to understand its impact? And so I think that we made a great choice tonight, not to discredit anyone else, but I'm excited for Ms. Griffin to take this seat, and I'm excited for the work that she has to do here in the next coming months, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mayor Hopewell. Well, as you probably noticed, I voted in a way that would try to not show favoritism toward anyone with respect to this fall's election. That's the only reason I did that, because the people who were running, especially the people who had a great following here, were actually taught me something I'm glad to learn, which is besides having experience in governance and in the details of working in the government, it's very important to have energy and the ability to attract supporters, because given the change that we need to have occur in Kalamazoo, we're going to need the support of the people to make it happen. Just being someone who knows it isn't enough. You have to have followers who are willing to go to the mat to deliver on the issues, the things that are actually going to change. So I think we have picked someone who is going to do that. I'm very excited, and I congratulate her.
Thank you, Commissioner. So just for clarification, and certainly candidate McNeil will comment on this, he didn't say he would or would not run. He actually said it was kind of, I might consider running, depending upon a number of factors that were his. So just,
I appreciate
Mr.
your-
McNeil can correct me if I'm incorrect. So we've heard from two individuals tonight, one being a commissioner, that he stated he would not run.
Well,
I don't remember that occurring, actually.
Well,
I remember it a little differently.
Well, let me just explain slightly. I heard him say that, but I was relying somewhat on my intuition about that, and that's my own internal process. I accept what everybody else has said. Sometimes, well, I am kind of the person who goes on internal processes, maybe more than a lot of politicians do, but in a way I regard that as a strength normally, maybe not in this case.
Thank you. Anything else? We are adjourned.